Boing, boing, boing. Should be coming up any second now. That's what she. So, there it is.
There it is.
All right, I've got my stuff shared.
I'm close.
You're getting there.
I think I've got it. Yeah, it's there. Hi.
Ready when you are.
Howdy. It is the Brad and Britt cast. It's our first one for this week, and we're glad you've decided to join us either live here in the 1:30 hour on Facebook and YouTube.
Mm-hmm. And it's our first one since the media has picked Joe Biden to be our next president.
You know, I'm so glad you brought this up because, and I don't know if you've heard this, but I'm going to say it. The media doesn't pick our president.
Holy shit. Could you guys drill a talking point home?
The people pick our president.
Oh,
and until every vote is counted, this race is not over. And I think it was really, I think Joe Biden doesn't deserve a concession phone call from Donald Trump. He needs to call up Trump and apologize to him for spiking the football, jumping the gun, and putting on that crazy fireworks. That was sick. That was just sick. It's got to stop.
Could they drill that talking point home any harder with more ham-handedness? I mean, the media doesn't pick They've got people, idiots with signs that are marching in the streets with this. It's absolutely like somebody came up with this, like, run with it. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to say that forever. The media doesn't pick president. The media doesn't pick presidents. The media, just say it. Say it a million times, you idiots.
I think we kind of inhabit our space here appropriately. And that just brings us to what we've all experienced the last 4 days if we pay close attention to this. And we Biden voters, liberals, Democrats, lefties, centrists, people who voted for Trump and switched over, couldn't take it anymore, decided that enough was enough. They had Trump exhaustion, that we'd reached the end, that he'd done everything he needed. He got his 3 Supreme Court justices. He all that's, and now we on the 75 million plus side, and the number's going to go up because they haven't counted all the votes in places probably like California yet, because they allow the ballots to come in, for the rest of the week. We must not only respect and acknowledge the 70 million people who voted for Donald Trump, who I'm sure you've been reminded of this maybe once. That's the most votes that a candidate has ever gotten, except for Joe Biden.
Exactly.
So we have to respect. So this is like when you score 49 points in the football game, but the other team scores 59, and you immediately hold a press conference and announce you really won the game. No, the other team scored 50. It doesn't matter. That's the most points you've ever scored. This is so insane. Donald Trump lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton by about 3.5 million. He lost. He won Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin by a hair, 80,000 votes between the 3 states.
Right.
And what did he do? He went out and lied for the next 4 years and said over and over again, and this was landslide, great victory.
Huge.
And we all knew it wasn't. And most of us just shook our heads and we just said, please, just stop. But now, people listening they bought into it. They absolutely believe that he crushed Hillary Clinton, which he really didn't by any reasonable means. In other words, the way the entire world votes for its politicians, which is majority wins. But
Correct.
okay, all right. The founding fathers were a bunch of racist white guy slave owners, and they had to mollify, and the electoral college exists. I get it.
Yeah, sure.
But all these years later, all 4 years later, to have Donald Trump lose the popular vote by more than he did in 2016, and then lose the electoral college, as we like to say, fair and square, in a way that he didn't win it, or the way that he did win it in 2016, and now he loses it. And the upside down narrative is we have to adjust. We have to adjust ourselves, because remember, Britt, you and I are part of an important minority of white people who vote Democrat.
It's weird.
White people who vote for Joe Biden in this election, because, again, a huge majority of white people voted for Donald Trump. White men still voted big for Donald Trump. He lost a few in some places.
Wasn't it white women? Didn't white women also go for Trump?
White women again.
Stunning.
And yeah, he added some minorities in different places around the country, South Florida, Texas, but still the overwhelming majority of black people, specifically black women,
right?
Well over 90% of black women,
thank God,
for Joe Biden, and they were the margin. But you and I, we are part of the white minority out of the white group who vote Democrat.
Are we traitors to our own race, or what are we just voting in our own interest?
Well, what are we doing? In a purely racist way to depict it, yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Because the Republican Party is a racist party. It is a white party. It
seems like it.
I
don't know if it's a racist party,
terrible.
but they certainly have embraced racism. They've embraced racism, and they've certainly embraced a racist, and that guy is in control of their party, and they can't get loose of him. And then, as several people, including Axios, are reporting now, he's privately already talking about the 2024 run. And, I say good. Go ahead. Talk about it. The more that this guy is in the headlines and starves the oxygen out of the Republican Party, the better off we are.
It's doubtful, although, again, anything can be unprecedented with Trump. It's doubtful that a convicted felon can run for office. Well, now, as you know, a convicted felon who pays his debts to society can't vote in Florida.
Yeah,
they had to make sure that happened unless they pay their debts.
This would be interesting. Here's an interesting test. Would Republican voters be obligated, or they feel like they could vote for a guy who actually is behind bars? Would he be allowed to even run in the primary? And would people go, I don't care? The people who are like, I don't care that he's maybe raped somebody or slept with a porn star or had somebody pee on him or had illegal business deals. I don't care if he's dealt with this. I don't care. Would they then not care that he actually is incarcerated? Or would that be further proof that the Democratic machine has convicted him and put him behind bars? Well, give us a call.
I would ask you, when you bring this up, you now have to set aside everything that you just brought up about his past, because obviously that's been adjudicated, and they would. That's not on the docket anymore. It's what happens from the day he leaves office 4 years from now.
Oh, you're so cute. You're just the cutest.
The day he leaves office in 74 days, whatever the number of days is, and all the judicial proceedings, the civil lawsuits, everything that's going to come falling down on him, the money that he owes, it's all coming down. And I think that in retrospect, we've only been about 110% right about everything we've ever said about Donald Trump. Not one thing. Pete's friend Russ posted something that I wrote exactly 4 years ago. He put it up there today, and it was me right after the election. I'm not going to read it, but everything I said then about Trump.
Well, paraphrase it. Paraphrase it.
Well, I can't I guess I have to read it. I mean, that's the only way, because it makes not much is very surprising about what we ended up experiencing from Trump. We saw it coming. It's not that we're that smart. We're not.
Well, no, but I think in some way, even though, I mean, you can reference this particular post, wasn't it worse than you thought it was going to be? Because it's worse than I thought it was going to be, and I thought it was going to be pretty bad.
All right, so we are operating today on November 9th. Is that right?
November the 9th of 2020, the year of our Lord.
All right, I wrote this exactly 4 years ago, November 9th, 2016. I said the other day that I would accept the election of Trump if it happened, and there would be no equivalence to Trump's crap about rigging and not conceding. Of course, that refers to the fact that, remember, before 2016, he had already said the election was going to be rigged and he would never concede to Hillary Clinton. And everybody shrugged their shoulders and said, yeah, right. Okay. So that's done. Now the rest of us losers are left with the slim hope that this guy will not govern as the same person who campaigned for the job, that it was the biggest con job in history, and that he would revert to rationality. If Trump fans think America will be great again, capital letters there, by this guy's will, overturning every progressive Supreme Court ruling going back to 54, speaking loudly and building bigger sticks, cozying up to Putin, making everyone say Merry Christmas, playing 52-card pickup with health insurance, and magically restoring America's industrial base to Eisenhower-era dominance through force and tariffs, they will be disappointed.
Well, that's pretty prescient.
With the nuclear codes in the hands of a guy who knows nothing going into the office, he needs help of the kind we've never seen before for a president. To turn around the phrase used at the beginning of Obama's first term, I hope he doesn't fail. It is up to Trump to prove to the rest of us that he is not the American Hitler many of us saw in so many areas. It is up to Trump to get beyond his fascination with his own populist political success. Boy, he sure did that, didn't he?
And nailed it.
Harnessing the vast right-wing conspiracy's dual decades-long hate for the Clintons with a racist hate for Obama and what he stood for does not equal a policy prescription for the future. Oh, yes, it did. While there's not a shred of evidence Trump is bigger than that, the founders made it clear that elections count for something, and we should honor that, if not Trump himself. More today at 10 a.m. on the Brad and Britt cast.
That's what I used to do it.
So,
but it was, the racism was way worse than we thought it was going to be.
Well, a lot of this was worse. But I didn't write anything that everyone who was paying attention didn't vote for Trump and saw trouble.
It was
coming.
a nice outline. You had a nice outline, but it was
way.
Nice, I think he went well beyond it.
But now look at this on the opposite end. As we started today, Donald Trump played the game of you can't resign, you're fired.
You're fired.
He did that with the defense secretary, whose name is Mark Esper. And about 3 or 4 days ago, there was a story that kind of floated along and went nowhere that he was resigning. All right. So we don't know the machinations of how someone at that level really gets it done, whether he writes a letter. But today, the big story is that Trump fired him. So
in a tweet, and he fired him in a tweet.
Right. So
and he said clearly that the man was terminated.
Right. So true to his brand, to the very end, the only thing that Trump is able to do is, like an oaf, make idiotic personnel decisions. In this case, now the United States, in effect, has no defense secretary for the next 2 months, because whoever the acting guy is, he's acting. And what does this mean? Did Trump go find a lackey, or is he going to start a war here over the next 6 weeks to leave Biden even more shit on the floor to try to clean up? I mean, what's going on?
I don't know. There was some speculation, perhaps, that he was offering his resignation before the election, in that he had some idea that Trump was planning, and that he was not going to go along with it. I would just encourage anybody. A lot of people don't know. I didn't know. Look at this man's resume. If you think that this guy is some sort of, and he's going to be portrayed on the Sean Hannity show and other places, Mark Esper, as some sort of George Soros never Trumper plant.
No, you know what this is. This is all about revenge. This is about getting done, because Esper, remember, Esper was one of the people that said, "What the fuck are you doing with troops out in front of the White House for your photo op?"
This is the kind of
those guys. So he had to get, yeah.
This is the kind of guy that he is. Mark Esper was on the dean's list at West Point. He served in the first Gulf War where he won the Bronze Star. This guy was at the Heritage fucking Foundation, Brad. He was the chief of staff at the Heritage Foundation.
Doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
This guy's he's a bona fide conservative Republican.
Doesn't matter.
He's that is what he's been his entire life. This guy is so Republican, his shorts are red.
Doesn't matter.
At this point in time, he has crossed the master and he has to go. Right. And he has to. And I'm going to say this: he doesn't deserve to be fired by some asshole's tweet, by some losing asshole's tweet. A lot of these guys did not. And by the way, the other news of the day was that Dr. Ben Carson has tested positive for COVID-19. He was at the big election night party at the White House with Mark Meadows, who was also tested positive. So I would say that Dr. Ben Carson doesn't deserve COVID-19 as well, and he should have done better, but he should have also known better because I think he's a what? Oh, a doctor or a surgeon or some medical training of some sort. He should have known something. But this guy, Mark Esper, did not deserve to be fired in a tweet like this, and he stood up to the master. But again, it's going to be defended. It'll be defended, like you said, like, oh, I love that Trump is doing this. I love that Trump is throwing these people that aren't loyal to him overboard, and it's just the greatest thing of all time.
Well, first of all, think of the meaningless, arrogant, strongman symbolism that Trump wants to exhibit all the way out the door, because everyone in the administration has an expiration date of January 20th. Yeah. So to fire someone now is just, it's all it is petty,
go beyond
peak bullshit. Which, by the way, it's always petty, peak bullshit.
Yes,
with Trump. So
but now it's on steroids,
right? So at one level, and by the way, if I were writing a syndicated humor column right now, based on what just happened today, I would headline it: Trump fires Jared Kushner. Search for new son-in-law begins immediately.
Thank you.
Interim son-in-law Scott Baio named as
Andy Borowitz on line 2.
That's what I would. I don't know if anybody's done that yet, but I was just thinking of that one.
That's good. Yes, he does need a new now. And again, the story is that Jared and a few other people have approached him and said, it might be time to give up the ghost. It might just be time.
See, I heard just the opposite, that Jared is fully enabling him. That there's not one person in his family so far that said a word. And that last half hour, I saw Carl Bernstein say that he's pretty sure that's right. There are at least 20 Republican senators who are fed up. They can't take it anymore. And one of those is Moscow Mitch, and that they are going to walk down to the White House.
Well, that's funny because he needs to talk to Lindsey Graham, because Lindsey Graham was on Fox yesterday saying, Mr. President, do not concede. Fight.
I understand, but Lindsey Graham's, I said 20. There's a 50 of them, so it doesn't have to be Lindsey Graham. And by the way, Mitch McConnell outranks Lindsey Graham.
As of now, he does. Sure,
I understand.
This is the story from 15 hours ago on CNN. Jared Kushner, Melania Trump advised Trump to accept election loss. That is the story that they are reporting, and from other sources.
That's dated. That's 15 hours old.
Well, it's also capable that Jared is playing both sides of this. It's completely possible that he's doing both things.
Yeah.
Telling him on the one hand to do it and telling him on the other hand. Don't you think at this point the strategy for Trump is got to get this to the courts where all of those beautiful judges that I appointed are going to be obligated to give the election to me? Don't you think that is his strategy?
Well, he may think it is, but that's not a strategy, and no judge is in a position to, quote, give the election to Donald Trump. And we've talked about this several times over the last few weeks. It turns out that the beauty of our system, and it's pretty ugly a lot of the time, is that there is local control, that the local election boards, local elected officials, Republican and Democrat, you've heard them. They've been all over TV. They were on that little show that comes on after NFL football last night.
Did you see that? The Republican guy in Philadelphia?
Yeah, that's why I'm referring to it.
The guy who says that he was getting death threats, and that people are saying this is what the Second Amendment is for.
Right. This is so widely dispersed, and the courts, including courts that have judges that Trump may have just appointed, 10 days ago, are not going to want any part of this. They have no evidence, and they have no evidence, if they did have evidence, of enough votes to change anything anywhere, even if the courts wanted to go way beyond Bush versus Gore. It's not going to happen. So you can't discuss it within the realm of Trump wants this to happen. It doesn't matter what he wants. It's over. It's over. Yogi Berra, it is over. Okay,
but they're still
things. It's over.
Well, you're acting like they're not going to try to carry this on. You're acting like they're not going to collect money from people that are, poor as shit in trailer parks across America. And by the way, a lot of that money is going to end up in the pockets of the Trump family for some sort of defense fund.
Right. I'm not pretending there isn't going to be the final grift, which is my next book, where we shake down people after we've lost an election, having them fully convinced that it was rigged, the fix was in. And by the way, do we have any video of the illegal immigrants that were bussed in on the George Soros bus company buses this time to illegally vote?
There's never any video. There's never any video. That's the strangest thing. In America, you can get anything, including a cop killing somebody on video or as a picture, but you cannot get any pictures of people doing it. Mark Levin just says it happened. And there's just, it just happened, and that's what you have to accept. And that's what, and you heard also that the strategy is now that Trump has been floating the idea of making a public speech where he brings forth the obituaries of people that he claims voted in the 2020 election and reads them. You've heard that this is one of the strategies that they're expecting right now.
Who is this Trebek? Alex
Trebek. He's Canadian. He's Canadian and he's dead. I like Canadians that aren't dead.
Right. He voted in California. So we have to subtract one from Biden's vote in California. All right, we only need 7 million more.
What is voter fraud, Alex? What is an illegal vote?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the strategies that they're pursuing. One of my favorite articles in the past few days. One of my favorite things in the past few days were like, well, we go over how Donald Trump ended up losing Arizona. Turns out when you attack one of the most famous and one of the most beloved brothers and sons of Arizona, even after he's dead, people don't like that. And you end up losing an election. Turns out when you sodomize the corpse of John McCain, a lot of people, even Republicans who are like, I would really like to vote for him, but he's a piece of shit and I'm not going to. It turns out you lose the state of Arizona. That's Occam's razor. That's not that tough to figure out, is it? Or am I just the smartest guy in the room?
Well, that's part of it, but Arizona is like Georgia. Okay.
Yeah.
The character of the population is changing ethnically. It just is. And it changed a lot in the last 4 years. And, they've got themselves 2 Democratic senators. What the hell do we have in North Carolina?
Well, if they win the runoff, yeah, they've got 2 Democratic senators. Where's
the runoff?
It's
in Arizona?
No, I'm sorry. I was in Georgia. You mentioned Georgia, so I thought you were going there. But yes, in Arizona, they do have 2 Democratic senators. That's absolutely correct. I was just very excited because I know that a lot of people are celebrating and going about, and a lot of folks who are on our side who are, and I'm not saying don't be celebratory. And I think all of these stupid posts about, you need to be gracious and you need to consider the feelings of the Trump people, and it's fine, whatever. What you need to do is you need to contribute to those 2 runoffs in Georgia and that Warnock and Ossoff. You need to go ahead and give $5 to them if that's what you're doing, if you're celebrating today, because that's going to be the big help for this country and for Joe Biden as he goes forward to win those 2 runoff elections. Those are extremely important in Georgia. There's a lot of different places. And that brings us to Stacey Abrams. My God, what a hero this woman is. What a tremendous asset she is.
And you know what I would do? I would rent Barack Obama a room at the Best Western for the next 6 weeks and just leave him there. Just have Obama.
And I would get Kamala Harris. I would get Kamala Harris an apartment in Savannah or Atlanta and just have her just all over the place. I would have her in that state for the next how many ever days it is till that runoff. And absolutely, I'm with you 100% on that, Brad.
Yeah, because I think that Obama and his appearance in Georgia was a big deal.
Oh, I agree.
2 weeks ago.
I agree totally.
And he couldn't get it done. Nobody could get it done in Florida, down there in Southeast Florida. But as far as being in Georgia, that was a pretty big deal. And And I'm kind of sorry that they didn't send Obama to North Carolina. He should have been here. He really
I don't
should
think
have.
it would have hurt for sure. It would have been nice to have it. And North Carolina did turn out to be somewhat of a disappointment. Obviously, we did get Roy Cooper reelected, so that was nice. How much of a factor do you think the whole sex scandal had in Cal Cunningham not beating Tom Tillis?
I think that was it.
That was the whole thing, right?
Absolutely.
And I talked to a lot of people.
I
talked to a lot of people, and they told me to my face. They said to my face, I don't care about the sex life. This is stupid. Doesn't matter to me about the private life, blah, blah, blah. It's between him and his wife. And I think these people, they would say one thing publicly, but then they would go vote another way. I think that's what happened.
Well, we don't talk to everybody that did the voting.
No.
But it's just not cool to say to you or to anyone, I'm switching my vote because.
Exactly.
It just isn't. It's not a cool thing to do because you're supposed to be liberal and accepting and understanding, and you're supposed to say, well, look, we have a president who blank, 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 blank. What's the big deal about Cal Cunningham? But people will have a convenient double standard when they decide to invoke it, and I think that's what happened. And
that truly is the only thing that Tom Tillis had, and that's the only thing he was running on the last couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, and I guess you can Monday morning quarterback this into the ground, but Cal Cunningham's strategy of going underground for the last month of the election after the news broke turned out not to work. Just didn't. There's a big difference between saying nothing and running the kind of campaign, smart, targeted campaign the last couple months that Biden ran. Yeah. Which of course was lied about by Trump, and I bet if you ask the average true Trumper what happened in the last 2 months, they would say that the hero Donald Trump faced down the virus, he beat it, and then he campaigned one-on-one with Americans, face to face. He faced the virus at those wonderful rallies, and Joe Biden stayed in his basement, right? That's what they would say.
That's what they would say.
Have you believe that Joe Biden never left for the last 2 months? So we were saying, and I think everybody knew this, that Donald Trump was going to try to lie his way back into office to a second term. He would lie on every subject that you could think of. And the lie certainly helped his turnout. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think it's anything to celebrate the fact that, wow, we had more people vote in this election than ever before. And by the way, the population of the United States has continued to grow every year since 1790. Okay. So you're always working with a larger pool. Okay. So that partially explains when you get more people voting in the aggregate.
Right.
But to then celebrate the fact that it went way up this time over last time, that's because Donald Trump sucks and people came out to vote against him. And yes, he stimulated the worst instincts in whatever base was out there for him. And they did find people in the bushes to vote for him. And they did get some black people around the country to fall for the con and think that one day they could have a gold jet and a car and a winery and a steak brand and buildings with their name on it if they just acted like Donald Trump. The description of Trump being the poor person's impression of what a rich guy is like is so perfect. It's so perfect. Donald Trump is the aberration. Donald Trump is not what the rich guy is like. There are lots of people with lots of money. 99.99999% of them are not Donald Trump and are not like Donald Trump and don't treat people like Donald Trump and don't believe as Donald Trump. So the idea that we have, wow, this was such a wonderful demonstration of democracy. No, you could make an argument that when turnout's a little bit lower, it's because the country's a little bit more satisfied with what's going on. I mean, this was just a freak show. Now, the Democrats played the game, at least at the presidential level, correctly, and they did get the turnout that was necessary to beat Trump, and they took back the blue wall. Except, what are the two states I associate my entire life the most with? North Carolina and Ohio.
Yeah.
The two most disappointing, disappointing states of them all.
Yeah,
not even close.
But
Ohio.
You knew, and I knew. I mean, North Carolina will break your heart. Jesse Helms is obviously going to be. That's something that's going to be part of my psyche as a North Carolina native my entire life. That North Carolina will break your heart almost every single time. But unfortunately,
Britt, just as many people have moved to North Carolina as Georgia. Percentage-wise,
it's sad.
The character of this population is way different than it was when I came here in 1987 and Jesse Helms was at the height of his power. So why are we still trailing? Why are we still completely I know we have a fucked up gerrymandered state government here.
It's true.
And by the way, this is why the Democrats, except for Joe Biden, lost this election. It's just a fact. And, there isn't going to be any revolutionary legislation having to do with climate change. And there isn't going to be a repeal of the tax cuts right now. Of course, this is all dependent on what happens in Georgia. But even if there was two Democrats getting in down there in Georgia and the Democrats controlled the Senate, it would be 50-50 with Kamala Harris being 51, breaking the ties. You have guys like Joe Manchin of West Virginia,
right?
Who's a Dino. He's a Democrat in name only.
Well, that's not necessarily true, but he does. Yeah, he does have a lot of Republican positions. That's right.
He does swing. So it would be the thinnest of majorities that we've ever seen. It can't get any closer than that, right? 50,
that's why all the efforts have to go into this Georgia thing. I mean, anybody that wants to give $5 right now to Ossoff and Warnock's got to go to give it that money.
Even if they do win it, even if Democrats do win, but it doesn't guarantee anything. There's still
but it's going to make things. It'll make things, and it'll be Mitch McConnell needs to sit. He'll get to sit in the minority, and Chuck Schumer will be the majority leader. So it's going to make a real difference. And I'm all for people celebrating, and this whole thing about you need to be humble and you don't want to piss off the Trump people because you want to try to reunite them. I thought it was a great speech that Joe Biden gave on Saturday, and Kamala Harris too, in terms of reuniting the country. It's the exact tone. There was an adult speaking, and everything was right. But I'm not going to say that people shouldn't celebrate because it was a great day. It was a great day for a lot of folks. And it meant, the Van Jones speech on CNN where he was talking about how it's a little bit easier to talk to your kids today about how character does matter and how taking the easy way out doesn't work out for you in the end. I thought it was a great emotional speech. But if you really are a liberal, if you are a Democrat, if you're someone who believes in voting blue, if you think that Joe Biden, even if you're a Republican, you think that Joe Biden saved this country, you got to really concentrate on these Georgia races because that's going to be the real focus over the next couple of months because that needs to happen. Need to take that momentum in Georgia and build on it and get those two Democratic senators seated. And then that's going to make things way better for Joe Biden and his agenda. Don't let Mitch McConnell still be in charge of the United States Senate. He has been a lot of the problems with this country over the past how many ever years, certainly most of the Obama years and the past 4 years, enabling Donald Trump to do what he's done. So, you need to put a lot of energy into what's going on in Georgia and pivot away from the celebrations. But what did you think of that speech that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris gave on Saturday?
Oh, it's fine. Oh, no, it was fine. And what was good about it? They were short.
Exactly.
We're not used to, but we've been deluged with long, rambling, repetitive crap for 4 years, which seems like 40 years.
Absolutely.
And, they do their thing. They get on, they get off, they say goodbye, see you later, bye-bye, and good for them. I just think that, and this is short-term thinking, we're in a very, very dangerous spot right now.
There's no question.
We've had a crazy man there for 4 years.
Yeah.
And now we have a doubly crazy guy who is going to, on that last day, try to pardon himself. He's going to try to do all kinds of crazy. He's going to be pardoning. You get a pardon. You get a pardon. Everybody gets a pardon.
Jeffrey Epstein posthumously. That's going to be the one that I'm hoping for.
Why not? Absolutely. Sure. So the Jeffrey Epstein can't.
But the game there again is
from the grave.
The game there is going to be if you give money to the Trump family, then you get a pardon. I mean, they're going to scope up the coffers and let that happen, and people can go ahead and talk about how Bill Clinton did the same thing and blah blah blah. But no, this is going to be whatever. If you purchase this or you do this or you give us this kind of money, then you can get a pardon for whomever. That it's open. It's open doors, right?
I think it's completely correct that you have anticipated the whataboutism component of here.
What was the guy's name?
Mark Rich.
Mark Rich. I couldn't remember the name. Mark Rich.
But do you have to understand? It doesn't matter.
No,
that's one guy.
Yeah,
it's one guy. This is an entire administration. You know, pardons are going to go. You know, Michael Flynn and Paul Manafort. And we can upgrade Roger Stone from a commutation to a full pardon, right?
That's all right.
You can just everybody gets pardoned except for Michael Cohen. Okay, Michael Cohen doesn't get a pardon because he wrote a mean book.
There's some irony there that all these people that he said he was going to lock up, he never locked up, and then a lot of people who were locked up got out. I mean, is there some kind of irony or some kind of parallel or just something there that Hillary's not locked up, Obama's not locked up, Biden's not locked up? By the way, where is Hunter Biden's laptop, Brad? I want to know where that is. I am not letting go of that story. Just because the wrong guy won this election, I am not giving up on this Hunter Biden story because it's corruption.
Apparently you didn't get the memo. Trump, of course, is already in effect signaled he's not coming to any inauguration of Joe Biden, if in fact there is one.
Which is fine.
And by the way, he is robbed of this election and it's stolen from Trump. But in the place where he would be sitting, they're just going to place a laptop and it's going to say Hunter's laptop. Hunter's laptop will attend.
Somebody said that they should make these stickers that you can put on your computer that says property of Hunter Biden or something like that, and you could be able to slap it on your laptop. Hey, he's the one. Donald Trump was the one that said the day after the election you won't be hearing about the coronavirus. Obviously, you are hearing about the coronavirus. What you're not hearing about is Hunter Biden's friggin' computer. The day after the election, that story, like they're not doing that anymore. That's the one that went away. The coronavirus is still rocking.
Right. It was thin air. The vaccine story, of course, that we learned about on Monday morning, that Pfizer has announced that the phase 3 trial, which is where they give it to 30,000 people, and it takes whatever amount of time it does to figure out how it's going. And that's a small sample of the 30,000, but they're saying that's 90% effective, which is pretty remarkable if that's really true. It sounds good, and I haven't heard any scientist or doctor say that's bullshit. We need more tests.
But these are early results. They have stressed that.
Right,
they did say that.
Right, but this sounds much closer to the real deal. And of course, when you start at 90%, if it were to drop down to 80 or 70, that would still be fantastic, and that would still be way better than any flu vaccine that comes out in any given year. Because in a good year, I think the flu vaccine is 50% effective. You reduce your chances of getting it by half. And I was just waiting to see how long before the charge would be made that why are we finding this out this week after the election? Trump was right. He said they're going to hold back the information that will get me reelected until after the election. Of course, there'll be a vaccine the day after. Now, let's tear this apart for just a second. First of all, Pfizer is the one drug company that took, you ready? And for those of you watching, you can see what I'm holding up. I'm holding up a 0 with my finger and my thumb. 0 federal money to develop the vaccine. All right. Every other one of these companies, Moderna, they're all. So Pfizer was absolutely the last company that you would charge as somehow connected financially to the federal government and would have some reason, any reason, to put out information early, risk their entire reputation if it turned out that they were lying, destroy their company in order to get Donald Trump reelected. Now, Pfizer smacked down Trump a couple of times over the last few months, if you remember,
right,
where Trump would lie at one of his rallies, and then Pfizer would have to say, no, we're not, it's not there yet. It's not there yet. It won't be there till November or December. So they signaled that they didn't have the numbers yet. But let's, for the sake of the argument, pretend that a week ago, last Monday or last weekend, they had this information. And let's just say that the CEO of Pfizer said, you know what? We're not going to release it because we don't want to do from the pharmaceutical end what, say, James Comey did a week before the 2016 election, which is release a preliminary report that is hardly final about something that could change the character of the election. So if Pfizer had the information a week ago and decided to not release it on purpose, I say good for them. They decided to not try one way or the other to alter the election. So good for them. And I don't think that's what happened. I think that they did just find out over the weekend that the numbers came in. But even under the most suspicious circumstances, which that Trump is going to run with this, he's going to say, it's not a coincidence that right after the election, they come out with this to make me. And by the way, I don't think there's any reason to believe that had this news come out the weekend before the election, that suddenly people would vote for Trump. Okay.
He would have demagogued it, and look what I gave you. I gave you this. This is my virus, and I gave this. This is my vaccine, and I gave it to you. That's right. That's what he would have said. Sure.
So I say good for Pfizer, and
just over the weekend, and it's amazing. And Dr. Joe Biden has already named his pandemic, like his panel, to help out. And there's some very famous physicians like Ezekiel Manuel and Vivek Murthy and some other folks are on there. So they're taking this extremely seriously. But we're entering a tough time because it is cold and flu season as well. When you combine that with what's going on with this pandemic, we're seeing death and hospitalizations at a record rate now, Brad.
And back to what we were just talking about, if this news had come out right before the election, what you said, I would multiply times 10, because Trump would have announced it's a return to normal. Now, his people, his mask deniers, his people who've been following his lead of saying it's not that big of a deal, you're probably not going to get it. Nobody ever gets it under the age of, they're all young and strong and tough. If he would have had several days or a week to talk about the news that we have on Monday about the Pfizer success in the phase 3 trials, he would have run around and said, I've brought America back to normal. Is there any doubt about that? Is there any doubt about that? And that would have been even worse, because the numbers are already baked in. There's an exponential growth that cannot be stopped right now for many, many weeks. And that would be if we all started behaving perfectly, which is not going to happen.
No, that's absolutely right.
And I'm afraid that even news like this, which to you and me and to everyone, doesn't change anything about the way things are currently. It doesn't change how much caution we have to have when we go out. It doesn't change the fact that we should all be wearing masks. It doesn't change the idea of social distancing. It doesn't mean that the Ohio Stadium should pack in 104,861 people, or is it 62 people on a Saturday?
That's your expertise.
Right. And by the way, made that up.
That sounded good.
It sounded good. It did sound good. It did sound good. We're not there yet, and we're not there even with the best results from a vaccine, which is tough to produce in mass numbers. We know it. The fact they have to keep it at 94 degrees Fahrenheit below zero as they move it around seems pretty daunting to me.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, we have enough trouble making sure that when the Coke truck arrives, that the Coke is cold, and you got to keep it cold. And so just imagine that with all
It's
these,
tough.
and they don't have enough glass vials. All these kinds of
things. These things are working. Yeah.
And this gap between right now, and you do get to play if Biden was president right now with this news, what would happen? And I would think you would invoke the Defense Production Act and order every company that is capable of making these little glass vials that contain, 4 or 5 doses each, whatever the number is.
Right.
This is enough.
It's a 2-dose vaccine.
Yeah.
You have to have 2 doses, and then 28
yeah.
days after the second dose, then you're good. So there's a lot of stuff but the thing we need to end on today is, Brad, have you joined the hot new social media app Parler? And how can people add you on Parler?
Is that like right-wing Twitter?
That's right-wing Twitter. You can add me at Biden kicked Trump's ass 2020. No spaces. It's Biden kicked Trump's ass 2020 on Parler. See, that is what they've got. This is what they've done, because Twitter obviously has an extreme liberal bias, and they've been fact-checking the president. They've been hiding some of his tweets, and they're sick of it. We want to spread all kind of right-wing lies, so Parler is the app for you.
So what we talked about last week apparently is going to come true, and this seems to be a preemptive move. He's getting kicked off of Twitter the minute he leaves office.
That'll be great.
Now, they're building a home for him
right
now.
So then maybe he can. I mean, I know some of his fans are wondering, when is he going to come over to Parler? Well, when they give him some money, when they write him a big fat check and say, "Here, come over to Parler," that's when Donald Trump will go over there. And who knows? The Trump News Network may end up be calling Parler. We don't know. They may eventually call it that when he leaves office, and Eric and Donald and Ivanka will just suck off of that teat for a while.
Maybe that's what happened when he assaulted a woman on the 16th hole on the green. Parlay. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there. That was awful.
It was a stretch. It was a reach. It was a bad ad lib, and I deeply, deeply apologize to the American people.
You just grab them by the putter. They let you do that if you're a star.
Yes, I promise to do better next time, if there is a next time, which is probably tomorrow.
And we are out. Thank you.